There's nothing to seek and nothing to find. You are already enlightened, and all the words in the world will not give you what you already have. I am a multidimensional entity functioning on many different levels at the same time. I am exactly the same as everyone else on this planet. We are all multidimensional beings with unlimited possibilities of what we can create. Energy just starts going. And I said, when it was time, I said, what happened? She said, I plunged.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of The One Talk by Meditation Academy. I'm Mel, and today's interview is in English. My guest is a very special one, which I'm very honored to have here with us, Trisha Caetano. Welcome, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Trisha, for those that do not know who Trisha is, can you tell me both who is Trisha as a therapist and also as a human being?
I'll start with a human being.
That's wonderful.
I am a multidimensional entity functioning on many different levels at the same time. I am exactly the same as everyone else on this planet. We are all multidimensional beings with unlimited possibilities of what we can create. So there's no difference between you, me, or anyone else. We all have the potential to create what we want. And who am I as a therapist? I have what we call a client-centered approach. What that means is I'm not God. I don't have the answers. I don't tell you everything of what you're supposed to feel and think and do, because we had that during our entire childhood of who we were supposed to be to fit a certain picture. So what we do in client-centered therapy is I refer to the client. I refer to you. What do you feel? What happened when we do the regression work? Not what you were told happened, but regressing back to the actual cause of what created the reactive behaviors that are now inhibiting and causing pain. And so my focus then is to empower the client that with firm boundaries, holding the space, but nevertheless, I assign responsibility as much as I can to the client to do their own healing. When they need help, I step in. When they need structure, I create it. When they need focus, I help them find it.
This is so beautiful because you are creating a space within the space of the client, because everything is inside of us. So when you are coming or you are meeting a therapist that works with space, it's your inner space that can heal you or just make you conscious of something that is already in you.
The problem with too many of the therapies, in my viewpoint, is that we try and control the process. Mm-hmm. We try and direct the client. Of course, we need to hold the space. We need to put in the boundaries, and we need to keep the session flowing. But in my trainings, I say to everyone when I start the trainings, you're all going in the wrong direction. So where's the guru? Where's the goddess? Where's the person who's going to rescue me? Wrong direction. We have to turn around and go back and go inward. There is a Zen saying, a Buddhist Zen saying, that is the cornerstone of my work. And it is this: there's nothing to seek and nothing to find. You are already enlightened, and all the words in the world will not give you what you already have. The wise seeker, therefore, goes within to find the true self.
This is beautiful. I followed the teaching of Moji and says the same thing.
Yeah, of course.
Everything is inside of us. Nothing is outside. It's just the illusion of self and of persona. But Trisha, when did you start and how did it start for you, this path?
It started in my childhood. I came from a very abusive home. And instead of, I could go one way or the other, and I chose to go the healing route. And so when I started this work, the subconscious motivation was to heal others.
Mm.
No, the subconscious motivation was to heal them. And what I realized was I had to heal myself first, because I can't be a therapist unless I can hold the space for you to go wherever you need to go. So when I first started this work, it was 2 years before I realized my clients never got angry. They could cry, they get emotional, they made great changes in their lives, they made great progress, but they never got angry. And it finally occurred to me after 2 years, that's about me. Because when we're children, we become what I call hyper vigilant, which means hyper too much vigilant watching. So as children, we watch the environment, the parents, the teachers. Okay, are they going to hurt me? I have to be on guard. And so children read you. And so they know what you're feeling and what you're thinking. Somehow my clients picked up that I couldn't tolerate anger because I had too much of that in my childhood. So then I realized, Trisha, this is about you. You must heal yourself before you can allow your clients to be all of who they can be. And so once I finished that process, the very next client I got was a man. And he comes in and he says, I'm so angry, I could tear your office apart. I said, okay. And he goes, really? I says, do what you need to do. And so then we put in boundaries, and then he went deeply into his anger because he saw and felt the energy, and he felt those facial muscles that we all learned when we were children, that he could do it, that it was okay, there was space there.
This is amazing because the question is, do you believe that this is your soul mission and every one of us comes here with a mission?
You know, when I started doing regression therapy, I had a number of beliefs. And in doing the work, my clients taught me to kill all my sacred cows because there are no black and white rules to a system that works in therapy. I have to be here and now with you in the moment of what you need, which is why I call my work integration therapy, because I include a number of different methods, Gestalt, psychosynthesis, non-dominant hand work, metaphors. And so we have to be present now with this human being and what they need in this moment right now. And so we have to get off this idea that there's a system, because each individual is a unique experience. And so when I see a person, I sense, I feel, I question until we can pull up the core material or as deep as they can go in that session. And so honoring the person who has the courage to walk through my door is what I do.
I'm very emotional because you are maybe the first woman that I see that it creates out of a system of not having a system. It's just being there, and the knowledge and all the systems or all the therapies that you acquired or you work with, they just integrate your own space.
Yeah.
And I'm emotional with that because it's not very often that you can see that in therapy. In therapy,
it's authentic, and that's all it cares.
Yes, I'm trying to do a great work. So you talk about Innerchild, but it's not just regular therapy with Innerchild work.
Mm-mm.
What do you do, Trisha?
Um, I have a system of questions and methods to help the client go below the presenting problem and below what they think it is and into what it really is. And so the reason that I talk inner child is regression therapy is to get the person to cause. And I don't care where that cause is, on what planet or what time. I care what's the causal incident that creates the aberrant behavior. And so when we start talking about inner child work, we know that in the womb, everything is recorded in the mind, but the brain is not developed yet. The neocortex, which is the thinking logical brain, is not fully developed until you're about 25. And it kicks in at about 7 or 8 years old. And so the Jesuit priests in the Catholic school used to say, give me a child to the age of 7 and I have them for life. And so what occurs is that when we're in the womb and when we come out of the womb, our sole purpose is to survive. And the minute we decide to survive is that first breath, which is why we use so much breath work in what we do. And so, yoga, everything is about breath. And so that's the choice to live. Once we choose to live, then we have to avoid not living. And so we're immediately polarized with that first breath. And then we have to survive in the environment in which we're born, which means we have to adapt to the behavior of the people around us that our life depends on. And so if I cry and I receive no attention, at some point I draw a conclusion. And if I'm born into a healthy environment, I'm immediately put on the mother's breast, I'm nurtured, then I can grow up feeling, hey, I'm pretty cool. I can do this. Or I'm valuable and I'm worth being loved. But let's say that you're put into a nursery when you're 3 months old because your mother goes to work, and all of a sudden you cry and nothing happens, and you need milk, you need to be changed, you need to be cuddled. It doesn't happen. As often as that happens, at some point you reach a conclusion, and the conclusion is entirely reactive because every behavior comes from the reptilian brainstem, and so it is reactive. No conscious logic to it. We react to what's happening in our environment. And if the environment is negative, then at some point, like I said, we reach what we call a core belief, which is I'm worthless, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve to be loved. Whatever lie we impose upon ourselves that goes with that trauma or neglect, then that becomes the core of the coping structure that we develop in order to survive in our home environment. And so that may work in the home environment, but then when you get out in the world, it doesn't work anymore. It's not the same. So that's why we have to regress back to these early stages when there's no thought or logic, when there's just this animal response to survival. And it's either survival or death. And so we at first, I thought, well, we don't need to do that. And then I found out, but then the client comes back and the behavior hasn't changed. Exactly. They felt fantastic at the end of the session. Wow, that's great. This is wonderful. God, I'm miserable. I'm still depressed. And I'm going, this doesn't work. We have to find something that works. And so I tell in my training, all the studies, all of the methods, everything that you learn as you go along, I will tell you the best things I teach, I learned from my clients and from my students, because I will try a method and then the client goes deeper and it's much better than anything I could direct them to. So I just stay with him and we just dive deep and go with what I call the blood and guts.
You are not afraid. You are a very brave therapist. You made a clear distinction between mind and brain.
Yes.
When you work with a client, where does the work begin and where does it end?
I don't know that it ever ends. I think that life is a banquet and that most poor fools are starving to death. And so we can continue to expand, to grow, to explore until we're dead. But that's just the body that dies. I define the mind as a recording of everything that ever happened from the moment of your awareness, which is long before we inhabited bodies, to however long we decide to stay in this particular cycle we're in, which is many centuries. And so the mind is a recording with all of the reactive responses, the emotions, the belief systems, the feelings in that moment. And it's all recorded. The brain, I identify as a mini computer, and it picks up everything, and the brain then, this is not accurate, but the brain then gives the information to the mind. And actually they work together. But once the body's dead, the brain is gone. So where do the memories go? They go into the mind. And the mind is eternal.
This is beautiful because I always for the last years, I believe that brain is an instrument that is very beautiful and useful, but it's an instrument for this mind or consciousness, whatever you want to say. You often say that talking about trauma is not enough.
No, because when we adapt to our environment, we continue to polarize. And so we continue to develop, I'm not worth being loved. And so I have to do what they tell me, and to do what they tell me, I can't feel my feelings. So we build this whole coping structure of how we're going to survive in that environment. But all those things we're doing, we lose the opposite. Mm-hmm. So often we lose our creativity. We lose our imagination. We lose our spontaneity. We lose our courage. We can't stand up to these people who are much bigger than I am and I depend on. And so we lose our courage. We lose our trust. And so it's not about trauma. It's about recovering who you are. Mm-hmm. And the whole purpose of the training I do is students do their own work, because like with my anger issues, you don't want to go into therapy doing that. And maybe the trauma caused these reactive programs. Mm-hmm. But a lot of what I do in my training is about recovering what's been lost, recovering what has been denied. And then with the shadow workshop I'm doing with Victor, even recovering what you disown. Mm-hmm. And so it's not all stern and drang and suffering and misery. It's not about reinforcing the negative patterns. What it is about releasing through regression and other methods the trauma that caused the behaviors. And then we are now open to start recovering all of these things that we lost, all these things that we deprived ourselves of. And then we're back to the banquet.
It's like a path to remembering who we are.
It's not remembering. It is recovering.
Recovering.
Yeah. It is owning all of who we are, not what we are programmed to believe or to behave. And so it's about becoming the multidimensional self, which we all are, as I said in the beginning.
Yeah, we can all do everything in this world.
That's right.
It's our capacity to integrate the power and the knowledge and the belief that we can do it.
Yeah, I say that this work is about freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the prison of mind makes you believe that you are not free. So you are trying all your life to gain some freedom.
And you think you're free. That's the real crux, is that you believe you're free. You believe you're choosing these behaviors or reactions, and you're not. Mm-hmm. So by cleaning up all of this programming, all of this, and you have to work with the body, because it's not just a belief system. It's the emotions. It is also the body reactions, which is why, for me, cognitive behavior is very limited. Mm-hmm. And you have to work with the body because you're saying, okay, now I understand that I need to do this differently. But then you get in the same situation and the whole thing triggers again. And the body says, yeah, I'm going to die. Don't do this. If you do this, I'll die. And so it's a totally reactive behavior. So you can't just have a mental. And you also, the mental is powerful because number one, you have to get to the cause of the beliefs, but also the energy of that belief goes into the body, into the aura. And so when we're doing the healing part of the session, we have to find where did you anchor that belief system? And then we have to go to the body or the aura and we have to cleanse and release that as well. And so I say what we do is energy work. And it's about the trauma, we're blocked. So we go back and we re-experience the trauma and then we can open up and then the energy flows.
In your experience, which of the subtle bodies of a human is more difficult to work with or to make change or to create that flowing energy?
Depends on the client. If the client is kinesthetic or sensory, then I'm going to use different language. I'm going to use different methods because they can access the emotions usually more easily. And then I'll get for the physical and the mental. When I'm working with somebody who's left brain logical, then I will start working with the belief systems and then I'll get to the emotions in the body. So it depends on how does the client process information and what part of the brain have they developed that you can work with.
This is beautiful. Once again, it's the space that you can feel out of the client, so you can work with it. Who is the work with inner child work meant for? It's for everybody?
Everybody.
Okay.
Everybody, because people say, well, why do I have to be on this planet? Why do I have to have this body? And I always say, this is a fantastic planet because with inhabiting bodies, we are able, all these sensory perceptions. If we're out of the body, we don't feel much. And we work a lot with abuse with disassociation. Well, they disassociate because they can't bear the pain of the body. And so the purpose of inhabiting bodies, I think, is to be able to access all these very dense feelings and emotions that we can't access when we're out of bodies. And also, the body is an incredible teaching tool. And so it's your friend. It's not, you don't go to war with your body. You don't hate your body. You learn to appreciate your body by doing this inner child work.
But you have to do it in a condensed way, with the body, with the mind, with the emotion, and after the soul and everything that you can cope with. You cannot just put the body first or put the mind.
No.
Okay.
No, you work with where can the client work? Where do we find a window, an opening into the inside of this person that they need to heal or access? When you mention the word soul, I think this is all soul work.
I believe this world is a soul. It's a one soul, it's a one mind.
Well, the universe is one soul, one mind. And so I remember I was going to a private Catholic school one year, and the teacher was teaching about the solar system. And I raised my hand and I said, well, there must be life on other planets. And the teacher said, there's no life on other planets. God created this planet for us to experience. And I said, but there's billions of planets. It's illogical. This is the only planet with life on it. She says, young lady, you stay after school until you admit there's no life on other planets. Yeah. So this is the thinking that you run into. So this is why I'm saying anything's possible.
Yes, indeed. Sometimes when I practice meditation, I feel like the whole universe with known and unknown planets are inside of my space. So I believe that is a way of open up the mind human consciousness, if you want to say that. And what you do with your work, it's very important because it's like a light bisturi. I don't know how you say it in English. A light knife that cuts down this illusion of limitation and of. You've worked with people that went through deep trauma. How was your approach?
Again, depending on the client, I go deeply with respect. And one of the things that clients tell me, even in the first session, is I feel I can trust you. They say that to me. And I trust them because they're there. And so I think non-judgment is one of the most powerful approaches to therapy that's possible. Because again, they're going to read your face, they're going to feel your energy. And if you're saying, oh God, not another client like this, they've got it like that, you're not going very far. But if you are create trust by being yourself authentic, by healing your own wounds, then they trust you. And so many times I'll have a client say, Trisha, I've never told anyone this before in my whole life, but I feel like I can tell you. And so with that trust, with that energetic connection, they're able to go much deeper than I could direct them or tell them to go. And so as I give them space, again with boundaries, they are willing to go deeper because the trust is there and the non-judgment is there. And so people say, Trisha, how do you go so fast, so deep, so quickly? And that's how I do it.
You mentioned very often the importance of boundaries.
Absolutely.
Tell us about this, because I believe this is very important.
It's absolutely imperative to any therapy, any human relationship that we do. And so, first of all, you have to have your own boundaries. We are raised as children to be codependent with the parents codependent with us. We are raised to believe that we have to figure out. So a boundary is, well, I'm going to digress a bit. My Zen approach to therapy is I'm 100% with the client and I'm 100% with myself. This is who you are. This is who I am. But we're working together to create one thing. But we don't have healthy boundaries as children. We don't have any boundaries during trauma, just reaction. And so we as therapists need to model boundaries. And I've had clients come up to me and say, can I give you a hug? And I'll say no. Or I'll say yes, depending on the client. And if they're needy and want mommy to take care of them, mommy's not going to do that because I'm not a mommy, at least to them. And so it's important then that we model that distance. When I was younger and better looking, men would come to me and they would say, oh, after this session, can we go for coffee? And I said, I don't go for coffee with my clients. And then they'll say, well, when we finish our work, can I take you to coffee? I said, no, not for 2 years. Because that's the law. And so it's my responsibility to put in boundaries. I had a very good friend who had an affair with one of his clients. And it was difficult because his daughter went to school with my daughter, and his wife and I worked on different committees in the school. And so he came in one day and he says, Trisha, can I talk to you? And I said, sure. And he says, I'm in love with someone. I said, oh, I said, you realize, and it's a client. I said, Peter, I said, you realize this is not okay. But she's my soulmate. And I says, Peter, this is not okay. You cannot, if you do this, you're going to destroy what you have. And he said, but she's my soulmate. I have to be with her. And I said, and so after I didn't go into agreement with what he was doing, then he didn't want to talk to me anymore.
Of course.
About 8 months later, we had offices in the same unit. He came in and he just looked awful. He was white. He was pale. And I says, Peter, what happened? He said, I've lost everything. I said, what do you mean? Well, after 6 months, the soulmate wasn't the soulmate anymore. The soulmate was this needy, dependent, grasping woman who wanted to control him. And the wife, she said enough. And so he lost his wife, he lost his family, he lost his home, and most of all, he lost his profession. Because the woman, his soulmate, sued him for having an affair with her, took him to court. And so that was it. And so he said, but it's my soulmate. I'm going, I don't care. There's a boundary you need to put in there and you're not doing it. And so I've had more than one person say that. They're my soulmate. Well, lots of people could be your soulmate. Okay. And so I used to do a lecture on soulmates and disappointed people because for me, there are so many different options. There's so many different choices. The one person out of billions of people that's my soulmate. Sorry, I just don't go there.
I believe everybody is our soulmate, depending on the mirror that we are looking in.
I can agree with you.
Okay.
I think the boundaries also depend on the client. If a client is needy and wants me to fix them, I'm going to have more distance. If the client is shut down, withdrawn, and in constant fear, I'm going to hold the space and I'm going to be there because he's putting up borders, not boundaries. And the other person has no boundaries and they want to engulf me. So again, we're 100% responsible for the boundaries. Going back to poor Peter, he's 100% responsible for the boundaries. He's the therapist. She doesn't know. And so we can't blame our clients for anything. We are the therapist. So I wanted to add that.
Yeah, it's important because the therapist is the captain of the ship.
Exactly.
And you need to follow someone. Exactly. It's the captain in this case.
You can't be in the back room having sex with your client when you're supposed to be steering the ship, right?
This is beautiful. This is sounds like a work for shadow work. The story with Peter.
Well, hey, I have to put an addendum on this. 2 years later, I ran into Peter in a bookstore. I says, Peter, how are you? He says, I'm doing great. I just found a girlfriend. I'm going, okay. And then I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm a private detective.
Okay.
So he moved on.
It's very important because I believe that everybody in our life that we encounter reflect something from inside of us. And in this case, Peter, dear Peter, just reflected a very needy woman side of him. You are here in Romania also because you have a workshop on shadow work.
Yes.
Can you tell us about this?
The shadow work is a Jungian concept. And I'm going to talk about archetypes at the beginning of this training, not for a long time, but we need to understand the archetypal concepts in therapy. And basically, Carl Jung developed the archetypes through myth and lore and dreams and the different stories that go with the different cultures. And he found out that whether you're in a sophisticated salon in Paris or you're in the Amazon jungle, they did the same thing. And he concluded from that we have a psychological imprint, just like we have a physical imprint, 2 hands, 5 fingers on each hand. We also have a psychological imprint, and we all have it. So now we're back to everything's available. And so he said, you are not finished with your work in therapy until you do the anima animus, the male female, and you do the shadow work. And so there's a misconception about shadow in most people. I know what my shadow is. Well, if somebody says that, you know they're wrong because it's in the shadow. We don't know what the shadow is. And so how far can I carry these students this weekend? It depends on the individual student, but the shadow work is reached only by peeling layer after layer after layer until you're down to the primal aspects of our existence. And so if we are to achieve what we call enlightenment, then we must also embrace the shadow. And so until we embrace both, we're not whole. We're still polarized. And so the shadow work is the extreme. It's the dark of the light. But without the dark, you don't have the light.
Exactly.
And so we need to be able to go deep in the psyche and access what we hide from ourselves. And that takes peeling the onion, but it also takes a willingness to release control. And that's hard for most people to do because we try and control our environment. We try and control the people around us. We try and control ourselves. So control is mistakenly for power, and it's not. Power is completely different than control. And so it's a willingness to relinquish enough control to go into the depths that we never imagined were there.
How much light you can see is how much darkness you can hide.
Yeah.
This is very, very beautiful. How can you define, what principles are there in the shadow? Emotional principles or characteristics of a human mind or human behavior? You
can take Carl Jung's aspect of the shadow, which is the primal, animal, vicious part of us. Or I would like to take that and reset that into therapy, because our Achilles heel, the thing that holds us back, is the shadow.
Knowing.
It's what we disown about ourselves. And so we have the capacity for anything. But if somebody is a killer, a murderer, or a pedophile, what's in their shadow? The wholeness, the completion. But if somebody's always pleasing, always taken care of, then what's in the shadow? Selfishness, to be able to love yourself. And so the shadow isn't, again, like with my clients, it's not everybody has this in the shadow, which Carl Jung would propose. But for me, it's what is it that is so deep and so painful and so awful that the client cannot even accept the concept that might be in them.
You don't allow yourself to be that character.
It's too terrifying. It's too terrifying.
I understand.
And like I said, until you own that, what terrifies you, you never can own what exalts you.
This is beautiful. I imagine a room full of masks, and every mask is something, but you are free to choose whatever mask you want in that particular day. Maybe it's a good accessory for your dress or for...
There you go.
And
the other thing, again, in trust. I trust Victor. I think he's exceptional in so many ways. And I trust that whoever is in that weekend workshop is supposed to be there. So a weekend is 3 days. And that's the minimum of what we need for shadow work. But I trust that everybody who's there is supposed to be there, and they will do exactly what they need to do with this 3 days.
I'm sure of it, because your space is so inviting and warm and free. It's just it's a way of connecting with people that are very important. It's very important because you offer space.
Yeah.
Just space.
Yeah.
It's just holding on. And this is important.
But space with boundaries is important too, because most people are terrified of space.
But why? Because if you don't have boundaries, you cannot hold space.
There you go. Yeah. Again, we're back to opposites.
Exactly.
Since the shadow work is, according to Carl Jung, a requirement for healing, for really becoming the authentic self, it's imperative that we do this. And so whatever happens this 3 days, it's imperative that at least we approach it and we hopefully access some of the things that have put limits and blocks on who we are, on the total authentic self. And so the power of this shadow 3 days is that you can gain some of that. Will you gain totally to the deepest shadow? Well, I'll tell the students more about that when they come. But they'll do what they need to do this weekend, and they'll be there because they are to be there.
And this workshop, I believe that is important for people that are already in a process of, I don't know if of therapy, but of self-knowing.
Well, that's because Victor vetted the people who are coming. So it's not like, okay, everybody on the street, come on, we're going to do this workshop. He put boundaries, if you will. He put boundaries around who is allowed to even take this training, because it's not
for everybody.
It's not for. It is for everybody, but at the right time.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
About training, you also train people?
Yep. I have a 1.5-year training, and I call it Innerchild integration training. And the next training starts at the end of September of this year, and it's in Belgium, in Brussels, and it will be focused on becoming the multidimensional self. So it's practical and grounded. The first 3 modules, there are 6 modules, are the methods, the techniques, the how to be with another human being. In fact, I'm going to digress again. One of the clients said to me, who graduated from the training, she was a psychologist. She said, Trisha, I've learned so many tools from you. I've learned so many different aspects of therapy, but and my own healing has been unbelievable. But she said, the most important thing you taught me was how to be with another human. And so the focus of the training is, like I said, the trauma work and recovering the lost parts of ourselves. And then the second half of the training is integrating other methods and tools with the inner child work that I pioneered a number of years ago. And I pioneered it because I could see what was happening wasn't working. And so I created my own dynamic training process. And the focus is therapy, the deep work with someone else, the deep healing within yourself. But the ultimate goal is becoming all of who you are, both as the student taking the training by the time they graduate, but also how to really respect another human being, how to put in boundaries in whatever way they need to be, how to honor this other person, at the same time honoring yourself. Being able to say no is one of the most difficult things we caretakers do, because most of us in this profession, I say most, we're caretakers. Mm-hmm. Most of us came from abusive situations, or we wouldn't be here. We don't see the healthy, happy people. We see the miserable, unhappy people. And so if we're going to university, we major in this because we need it. And so this is the point to build a solid foundation of how to do the therapy, which is client-centered instead of the way many of the teachings are, and then to start integrating other tools. Like I said, the metaphors. How do you use a metaphor to help the client heal themselves? The non-dominant hand work, the psychosynthesis. We do a couple days of shadow work in the 6th module. And so I try and put everything I can in based on how the group is flowing and how much I can give to them. And then they say, well, come on, do workshops. You mentioned that, but you didn't tell us how to do it. So do another workshop. So this is how it goes. Each group is individual. Each group has their own dynamic. I do a lot of group building when I do this work. And so this is the focus, the ultimate focus, is heal yourself, and then you can heal others.
It's a very transformative training.
Yeah, it is.
Do you have a story that you like to remember from time to time about?
So many of them. One of the things that I do after the client has done some work, depending again on where the client is, I start giving the client responsibility for their own healing. And so lots of times I use healing methods in the beginning, but then when I feel the client has enough of an adult, enough of a foundation, I will start assigning to the client what needs to happen for you to heal this past. And so I had a client whose father was an alcoholic. He was abusive emotionally, thank God not sexually, but in every other way he was abusive to her. So we did a lot of different kinds of therapy. And so at the end of one session, she finally said to me, I think I'm finished with my father work. I said, what needs to happen for you to know that you're finished with your father work? And she closes her eyes and drops down. And then she cries and cries and cries. And I'm going, are we back in a process here? And so she cries and cries. And then she raises her head. I said, what's happening? She says, I'm standing on a beach and the water's orange and the sand is purple and the sky is green. It feels like it's another dimension. I said, okay. And what needs to happen next? She starts crying and crying and crying and crying. And so then she raises up and she says, I said, what's happening now? And she said, I'm with my father on the beach and I have a crystal knife in my hand. I said, what needs to happen with the crystal knife? She goes, cries and cries and cries and cries. And then she stops crying. And all of a sudden she goes, ah! No. And she opens her eyes and her energy just starts going. And I said, when it was time, I said, what happened? She said, I plunged the crystal knife in my father's chest. And I said, then what happened? She said, I freed us both. So the question becomes, I think I'm finished with my father work. What do you need to do to know? And then this incredible thing came out of it. I couldn't direct that. Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell her to do that to heal her father. She had to do it herself. And another client I was working with self-worth. And we were doing regression therapy. Very intense, deep session. And so then we did the processing and we went to the 4th stage of the session, which is healing. And then I said, what needs to happen to heal this feeling of worthlessness? He said, I need to go to a future life when I feel worthwhile and bring the energy of feeling worthwhile back in this body. I'm going, oh. And I said, okay, do it. And he did. And then I learned a new tool. So many things happen. I had one client who, she was kind of a mess, emotionally, psychologically. And she came in and she was with a boyfriend 3 years who beat her fairly frequently. She was with a boss who demeaned her and put her down. Her family didn't want to speak to her anymore. She was fairly chaotic. we did one deep, powerful session. And again, when you call those the miracle sessions. And when she came out of the session, again, her eyes open and her energy goes. And I said, well, anyway, I helped prepare her. I did the cognitive work at the end. And then she came back 2 weeks later. She'd left the boyfriend. She'd quit the job. She'd enrolled in a school to learn to be a minister. And she moved out of her apartment in 2 weeks from one session. So that's just one example of people changing their lives. There are so many things on the website of testimonials of people who talk about how their lives have changed. And I don't have an agenda, but if I did, it probably would be the joy that comes from watching a person come to me like this. And then we slowly begin to peel until the soul emerges. And that to me is the joy. Experiencing another human being becoming.
This is like the blooming of a miracle.
The blooming of a miracle.
This is very beautiful. I thank you in the name of this collective consciousness for everything that you do, because it's very important. And for everyone that comes to you to be trained and to bring some light inside. That is very important. Here on the one talk, at the end, we give I don't know if a recommendation or a practical way to meditate or something that people can use as a tool to be more aligned or to be more with themselves.
First, boundaries. The only way I was able to do this from compulsive caretaker to somebody who's grounded and centered was I would put on my calendar 2 hours and I would put a big X on it, or a whole day maybe. And I would say, this is mine.
This is so simple, but very important.
It's so important because if I had not, it took me years to get there, by the way, but when I finally got there, it's like I respect myself enough to create time for myself instead of my compulsive need to rescue other people, but after rescuing myself, then I could create a space for me to be. And I could read a book. I could sit and eat potato chips and watch TV. I could go for a walk in the forest. Whatever I did in the moment at that time belonged to me.
This is beautiful. Do you have the guided practice meditation for us, the short one that people can rely on or engage?
I have one that takes maybe 5 minutes.
Okay.
Is that okay? Might take 6 or 7. Is that too much?
No.
Okay. All right. So you've already done this, but
I will do it.
But you didn't do it. Okay. So
I will do it now. You tell me and I will do it.
So you put your tailbone at the back of your chair. You put your feet flat on the floor.
Okay.
You lift your shoulders up, back, and down. And close your eyes. And take another slow, deep breath. And as you exhale, begin to relax the muscles of your body. Sense that you breathe in clear, clean light and energy. And as you exhale, flow that down to your feet. Go at your own pace. Take another slow, deep breath, breathing in clear, clean light and energy. And what light belongs in your body right now? Make it clear and clean and bright. And breathe into that clear, clean light. And as you exhale, flow it to your feet, your legs, your hips, your back, your hands and shoulders. Allow that clear, clean, bright light that your body needs right now to flow up to the center of the top of your head. Go at your own pace. Don't worry about the words. And have the sense that you create a positive, personal, private space for you that's safe. It can be anywhere you want, as long as your feet are on the ground and as long as it's safe. The space that you've created, notice the colors there. Notice the feeling there. Take another slow, deep breath and feel your feet as you walk to the center of this safe, open place. Stand in the center. Notice what's in your safe space. Notice the colors in your safe space. Put a protection all around the outside edge of your safe space. The protection can be anything you want, as long as no one and nothing comes into your safe space unless you invite them. Now reinforce your protection, make it vibrate a little, and that will make it solid. And take another slow, deep breath. Again, go at your own pace. And as you exhale, relax into the center of your safe place. Move your attention to the bottom of your feet and feel a tube go down from the bottom of your feet and connect to the center of the earth. Connect only to positive earth support. Begin to allow only positive earth support to gently come up that tube and touch the bottom of your feet. If it feels okay, open the bottom of your feet and allow only positive earth support to gently flow into your body, giving you the support, the strength that you need. Take another slow, deep breath. Move your attention to the center of the top of your head. Feel a tube going from the center of the top of your head up, up, up into the center of the universe. Allow only positive universal light energy to gently come down and touch the center of the top of your head. If it feels okay, allow only positive universal energy to flow into you, supporting you and bringing light. Begin to allow these two energies, earth strength, universal light, allow these energies to flow and dance within you. And when these energies reach a place of harmony, gently take one or both of your hands and place them on the part of your body where the harmony is at its greatest. Feel your hands on your body. Breathe into your body, under your hands. What color is the harmony within you? With every breath, allow that harmony to become stronger, more harmonious, more connected. Feel your hands. Feel the harmony. Feel your hands. Feel the harmony. Anchor the harmony deep, deep within you. Allow the color to become lighter and brighter with each breath. Keep your hands where they are for now. Gently inhale and exhale. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you very much.
Can I comment briefly on this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a multidimensional method. It comes from Louis Bostwick, who did some great things. And then with NLP, you're anchoring the center within you. And so to comment on boundaries, whenever I do public work, I put in very firm boundaries. Allow the tube only to connect with earth strength. Allow only earth strength to come up. Touch the bottom of your feet. If it feels okay, all of these are boundaries. Receive only as much as you want. And so when you do these processes, the boundaries are all the way through, protecting the client. And then if it feels okay, touch your body, breathe into and so the value of this is that every time you use it, and if you can use it several times a day, just start with, that's great. Then you reinforce and the body begins to respond to the harmony instead of the chaos around us. And so take it to your people, take it, use it, enjoy it, and allow it to make your life a more fun thing to live.
This is beautiful. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. For a beginner, either they have to turn off the tape or they have to understand that I went very fast through this process.
I can make a different tape with longer pauses. I can do it.
Yeah. Clearly, you could stay with me, and so I thought, okay, we're going on here.
Yeah.
It
felt great. It felt great. I entered in my cave of crystals, and that was a long time since I didn't visit my cave of crystals. So
lovely.
Appreciate.
Lovely. Yeah.
So it's important to have your own pace in doing this kind of practice.
Yeah.
It's important for the people.
Again, referring back to yourself.
Yeah, it's important. We didn't talk about your community. We talk about workshops and trainings, but I know that you have community, a big community, because you have more than 40 years that you are dedicated to this kind of therapy. So tell me about your community and how do you feel inside, in the middle of this community?
In the first place, I never planned it and I never made it happen. Almost everything I do comes from word of mouth. And then other people like Victor put together a weekend or a master class for me to come and teach. But for Japan, for example, I'm in Los Angeles, I'm giving a keynote speech, and this Japanese man comes up to me and says, I would like to have you come to Japan. Well, I'm a travel addict. I've been to more than 150 countries. And so he says, Japan. I'm going, I haven't been there yet, of course. And so then I didn't hear from him. And I thought, okay, well, forget Japan. And then about 3 months later, I get an email from him with the whole outline. This is, we pay for the airfare, we pay for this, you come here, I want you to do this. And so I go, okay, Japan. So I've been now teaching in Japan for 24 years.
Oh my God.
And I have a very large group there. I also have a group specifically of medical doctors and some, nurses, but mostly medical professionals. And one of my students who was a neurosurgeon created that training for them. And that was about 16 years ago. And then every year I come back to Japan and do a master class for them. Mm-hmm. And so we as a group now, we just love each other. So that's a group within a group. But mostly it comes from me doing a lecture and then somebody says, will you come to my country? Mm-hmm. Or will you come to my business and do a training? And so I'm a terrible businesswoman. my daughter says to me, well, Mom, where's your mailing list? I says, I don't know. All these other people have the mailing list. And she says, well, Mom, how are you going to promote this training you're doing in September? I says, I don't know. So I'm worthless, but in that way, I'm worthless. And so I've worked in Kenya, I've worked in Russia, I've worked in Romania, I've worked all over Europe, I worked in the United States for many years before I came here, and was fairly well known in the United States. And so I haven't worked in the United States for years because my mother was born in Scotland. And as soon as I came to Europe, I said, I'm home. And so that was many years ago. And so I wound up in Amsterdam and met my husband there. And so there you have it.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
Now I understand why I had this feeling with you. I'm in love with Scotland. I don't know why. I never visit Scotland, but there is something about this land.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you talk now that you were born in Scotland, I understand the feeling is that I felt with you the first time I hugged you, like a magnetic attraction, a very small one, but very, very powerful. It click.
Well, it's not just Scotland. It's also our energy. But well, my mother was not just born in Scotland. She was born in the Highlands of Scotland.
Yeah, Inverness. I know.
North of Inverness, yes. And so these are very tough people. But, all the clan wars, they killed off everybody who wasn't strong enough to survive. So,
I feel sometimes like a Inverness woman. Still here in Romania in 2025, but it's beautiful. Trisha, I don't know if you want to leave something for our audience, like a laugh, a moment, an inspiring, I don't know, recommendation or something. Your camera.
I was on a lot of television interview programs in the United States. And the first time somebody said, what is your advice for our viewing audience? And it popped into my head, and I've already said it, life's a banquet and most poor fools are starving to death. And it's a line from a play. And the point is that it is a banquet. This is a fabulous planet. And so if we heal ourselves, we get to enjoy the banquet that this planet and these bodies inhabiting these dense machines have to offer us. So whatever it requires to take the courage to choose the unknown and to heal, do it.
Thank you very much. And I hope the second one would be longer, lighter, and even, I don't know, full of knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.